What if we gave every Premier League club their greatest single season scorer back? Would a 23-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo pull United back to the top of English football? Or would an invincible Thierry Henry be the key to a long-awaited Arsenal title triumph? Or would it be Pochettino's Harry Kane who returns to Spurs to paint the Premier League white under Thomas Frank? The Hitmen are back to bust the net. Let's get it started, shall we? So each single season record breaker is locked into their club for the next 10 seasons, starting at the age they broke the record at. And over those 10 seasons, we want 3 questions answered. Starting with the big one, which goal machine will score the most goals over the decade? Number 2, who will lead their team to the most trophies? And number 3, who will be lighting up the championship as we track who gets relegated the most? It means the older ones will have to make an impact early before retirement sets in, whilst the young blood will have all 10 seasons to work with. So smash that thumbs up and let's get the era of goal scorers in the Premier League underway. There are only 2 players in today's showcase still playing for their clubs, and it'd be both of them to get our 10 years started off with a bang. As Liverpool's Egyptian Prince started with a Community Shield winner and finished the season with a Champions League banger.
And still, Salah! Oh, sensational!
Mo Salah, scoring 32 goals in the 17-18 season to shock English football in his first year as a Red. He'd go on to become one of Liverpool's greatest, with no signs of a slowdown just yet. As for the second man still at their club, it was a season of showing the other goal scorers just what they were up against, as City's Norwegian Terminator smashed in goals against all comers, racking up 26 in total to win the first Premier League title of the decade, as well as the first Golden Boot on offer.
City are going long and Haaland's through on goal! Haaland!
Tearing the Premier League apart in his debut season, Erling Haaland set a Premier League record of 36 goals. City would win the treble in that 22-23 season, and Erling Haaland made it all look so easy. We'd also see excitement in North London, as both Arsenal and Spurs' finest managed triumphant returns to English football. Arsenal had a tricky tie against Newcastle in the Carabao Cup final, but they had French flair and vava-voom that the Magpies just couldn't handle.
Henry, what a goal!
Scoring 30 league goals in an invincible 03-04 season, Thierry Henry was undeniable. Finishing his career as the club's all-time record scorer made him an Arsenal icon. But not one to be outdone, it was the season's final game, an FA Cup final, that saw one of Spurs' very own finally win a trophy with his boyhood club.
Here is Harry Kane for Tottenham! Oh, what a goal!
Hitting 30 goals for the first time in the 17-18 season, spearheading Pochettino's front-footed Spurs with homegrown tenacity and drive. Harry Kane would leave Spurs as their greatest player of the Premier League era. So 16 players still to reveal as we close out season 1. There were a few stinkers further down the league though, and we did see our first 3 relegations. Will the Premier League ever see these goal machines again? Season 2 would start with arguably the worst goal you'll see all decade, as Kane pipped Haaland to the Community Shield. Unfortunately for the rest of the Premier League, City would respond to that loss by signing Vinicius Jr. to accompany Haaland up top. The two would utterly demolish the Premier League, dog-walking their way to a second consecutive title, as well as another Golden Boot for Haaland, this time breaking his original record and another Prem record with 37 goals. Just a shame he can't score a penalty when it counts. But it would be elsewhere in Season 2 that would see the most excitement. First up was a Carabao Cup made in Merseyside, as Salah led Liverpool out at Wembley to battle a Toffees team with size and strength up top. After a close game, it'd end up being decided by the dreaded penalty shootout. And after a Dominic Szoboszlai miss, it fell on Everton's big bad Belgian banger to send the Toffees into pandemonium.
It's Lukaku!
Big Romelu Lukaku, the Belgian bully who scored 25 league goals for Everton in the 16-17 season to earn an ill-fated move to United. The epitome of a player who's at his best when he is the main man. And whilst that Everton win was a bit of a shocker, there was no bigger shock all season than in the FA Cup final. Arsenal and Henry entered heavy favourites against the Bournemouth side now managed by Stuart Downing. Declan Rice would grab a comical goal for the Gunners, but it was the cherry up top who had the last laugh, scoring twice to win Bournemouth their first ever major trophy.
Solanke coming in on that.
The most recent record breaker on this list, Dominic Solanke, hit 19 league goals in the 23-24 season to secure Bournemouth's position as an established top-flight team. But what about those relegated teams from season number 1? Well, all three were straight back up, but none were more impressive than the winners, Nottingham Forest, earning a record 117 points, scoring over 100 goals, 26 of which came from record breaker and infamous bad boy Stan Collymore.
Collymore closing in!
Scoring 22 league goals in the 94-95 season to secure a remarkable third place finish for Forest, Collymore was power, skill and unbridled fury rolled up into one. You'll have to wait just a little bit longer for Burnley and West Ham's moment, as well as Wolves, who were the only original team to face the drop in season number 2. So Haaland is our clear leader for goals and trophies so far, but with our record breakers now fully settled with improving teams around them, something tells me season 3 may just be our wildest one yet. The season started with City absolutely squashing the Cherries in the Community Shield, but you'll be delighted to know that was the only trophy City would win all season. By the time January rolled around, we actually had a 5-horse title race on our hands. Henry had been firing home with class and style, Mo Salah had been doing Salah things, and Harry Kane was doing his best to win a first English title. The relegation race was shaping up to be an all-timer too. The first final of the season would be a fun one as well, as Aston Villa would battle Sunderland in a Carabao Cup final. And just the one goal would decide this one, as the original Belgian big man did what he does best.
It comes from Westwood. Good delivery, Benteke's there!
Almost single-handedly keeping Villa in the Premier League during 2012-2013, Christian Benteke smashed 19 goals in his debut season. That would remain Benteke's peak as a footballer. And by the time we reached the final day of the league, Kane Spurs were coming off another FA Cup win, knowing they could be one of 3 teams to win it all. The problem? Mo Salah, who scored a penalty to set Liverpool on their way to a 2-1 win over Brighton. The Reds had finally broken City's grip on the Premier League. Poor Brighton, meanwhile, were unfortunately relegated with that Liverpool win, as well as the retirement of their single-season record breaker.
It's another chance for Glenn Murray to wrap it up.
With the lowest record of the bunch with just 13 goals in the 18-19 season, Glenn Murray is also the oldest record holder, starting this showcase at 33 years young. Joining Brighton was sadly Stan Collymore's Forest, who became our first 2-time relegationees. On the flip side, Wolves were back up, as all unrevealed goal scorers are back in the Premier League for season number 4. A season that is looking very promising indeed, as Palace and Villa have broken into that top 7, and Manchester United were finally showing signs of life. The main star of season 4 lit the footballing world on fire before a single kick in the league, as Portugal vanquished Spain in the World Cup final. You know who scored on that fateful day, before linking back up with a now Zinedine Zidane-led United for a season fans have been desperate for. With Seško ahead of him and Bruno and Maino pulling the strings in the middle, season 4 saw United turn back the clock with dazzling performances to leave their rivals in the dust. The Red Devils were so dominant, they had the league wrapped up by the start of May. A simply unreal season at Old Trafford by their key player, captain, and one of the greatest of all time.
Turning it round to Ronaldo! It's spectacular!
Cristiano Ronaldo, the most impactful player of his generation, scored 31 league goals in the 07-08 season, winning the Champions League, Premier League and Ballon d'Or in the process. There would also be a Premier League tag team in Europe this season, as Benteke earned Villa their first Euro crown since 1982.
Good evening.
Next up, Crystal Palace found themselves in a Conference League final with Villarreal. Now led by Big Ange Postecoglou, Crystal Palace absolutely tore Villarreal to shreds, with 4 of their 7 goals coming from their best bald eagle.
And here's Johnson with a chance for 2!
Andy Johnson scored 21 league goals in the 04-05 season. It couldn't save Palace from relegation, but it secured his spot amongst the Eagles' best to ever do it in the Premier League. Johnson would once again finish second in the Golden Boot race. Haaland was just inevitable so far, and he'd add an FA Cup to that latest top scorer award as well. And there would be one more player to break their trophy drought this season too, as earlier in the season, Villa had a chance to make it back-to-back Carabao Cup wins. In their way was newly promoted Wolves, their fierce local rivals. Unfortunately for the villains, Wolves had some Mexican spice up their sleeves to secure a first major trophy since 1960.
Here it is!
In the 1920 season, Raul Jimenez scored 17 league goals as Wolves attacked the Prem and a deep run in the Europa League. A mix of old school hold-up play and clinical finishing made him a fan favourite at the Molineux. So huge success for Wolves on their return to the Premier League. Could Brighton do the same? And what's in store for West Ham and Burnley, our now two-time relegationees? One thing is definitely for certain. Season 5 was about to flip English football on its head. Now, you would be forgiven for thinking regular programming had resumed when City smashed United in the Community Shield, but what we got instead was madness. Starting with the Carabao Cup, we finally saw a first final appearance from Chelsea, as well as Leeds. And I'm sorry Leeds fans, but your moment will come a little bit later on, as this final at Wembley was all about the Blues' now 35-year-old ageing striker climbing off the bench to do what he does best in the 98th minute.
Well, as possibly bleak as this.
Hitting 29 league goals in the 09-10 season, Didier Drogba powered Chelsea to a Premier League and FA Cup double under Don Carlo Ancelotti, a man simply made for the big occasions. Leeds, meanwhile, would face their first trip down under to the Championship. But for us, we had to take a trip to Europe. As in a rare Europa League appearance, Erling Haaland would add more silverware to his cabinet after scoring in a 3-1 final victory. He would also add his 5th straight Golden Boot too. In the Champions League, it was once again the Reds who flew the flag for England, but it was their Egyptian who lit up the final by once again downing PSG with a peach.
Sifted on for Salah, 3-0!
United fans weren't happy at all, but they did have something to cheer about come season's end. Ronaldo had scored a decade-high 21 goals, with his final goal of the season coming in an FA Cup final, tapping home in a 2-1 win over Arsenal. He had been so good this year, he would end up winning the World Golden Ball. But unfortunately, he wasn't at the best team in England. As in the biggest shock of our 5 years yet, the Premier League was won by Crystal Palace.
I am flabbergasted.
Their first ever top flight win with a 4-2-3-1 led by Andy Johnson and another 20-plus goal season. Palace have rounded off 3 years of solid growth and momentum with a title win. The original set of teams down in the Championship would be back too. For Burnley, it was all down to their big Kiwi up top.
Again here, Wood trying to turn, he's got the better of Cody. The angle is tight, but not prohibitively so.
Chris Wood hit 14 league goals in the 1920 season, leading Burnley's line with strength, aerial power and a relentless work rate. A prime-time Sean Dyche striker. For West Ham, they would need a shootout to secure promotion, but with 22 league goals, their run back to the Prem was very much an Italian job.
Sinclair's cross over Cunningham. Di Canio! Oh, I do not believe that!
An utter madman. At his best, Paolo Di Canio scored 16 league goals with a mix of flair, vision and sheer audacity. Pure magic, chaos and theatre in the claret and blue. So easily our most bonkers season yet. Can the second half of this decade match up? The second half of the decade started off with more of the same, as Andy Johnson hit a 94th minute winner to win the Community Shield. But I am delighted to announce we finally have a new Golden Boot winner, as Big Benteke snatched the top scorer title from Haaland in style, smashing his own record in the process to end the season on 32 goals. No team though scored more than United. 89 in total, with 16 coming from a now Euros 2028 winner. He would lead United to their second title of the decade.
This is football heritage.
Palace would actually drop out of the top four, struggling to balance their Champions League commitments. In fact, the only European success came from a Chelsea side in the Conference League, but their Ivorian hitman was nowhere to be seen. Didier Drogba would eventually retire at 37 that summer. Palace had been replaced in that top four by Everton. Now looking mighty powerful, big Romelu Lukaku had scored 21 goals across the season, saving his best for a 75th minute winner in the FA Cup final, the Toffee's second trophy of the past 6 seasons. The Carabao Cup would be much spicier.
Yeah, boy.
And Sunderland fans, I'm so sorry, but you're going to have to wait just a teeny tiny bit longer to get your moment in the spotlight, as this final was all about one man, as Newcastle's record breaker bagged 3 at Wembley.
Before, but now it's Cole through the middle. Andy Cole, here we go again.
Scoring 34 in the 93-94 season, Andy Cole's combination of pace, power, movement and lethal finishing tore the Prem apart for years to come. If only he stayed a Magpie just a little bit longer. But as tense as that final was, I think the relegation race may just pip it. Brentford were 2 points off safety on the final day, knowing they would have to beat Spurs whilst praying Leicester drop points. Fortunately for them, Newcastle would score a soul-crushing equaliser at Leicester, with Brentford relying on their penalty king to get out of jail.
Tony takes and Tony scores!
In the 22-23 season, Ivan Toney scored 20 goals to become one of the league's most feared strikers. Few, if any, have been a better B in the Prem. Sadly for the Hammers and Clarets, another relegation confirmed their status as the true yo-yo clubs of this generation, a fate that Leeds would like to avoid, as they battle to a playoff promotion, with their top scorer of the season rattling one in during the semi-finals.
2 goals, it's broken to Viduka. Can he punish them? He can!
Mark Viduka's 20 league goals were a rare bright spot for an otherwise struggling Leeds side in the 02-03 season. Strong, intelligent and ice cold in front of goal, an icon of that Leeds generation. So we have just 2 players left to reveal. I think it's time we kick things into gear. Season 7 would see Harry Kane fire Spurs back into the Champions League after a few years of suffering. Unfortunately, rivals Arsenal would one-up them, as Thierry Henry scored the winner in the FA Cup final. A win that would see the Gunners snatch Newcastle's hard-earned Europa League spot.
Oh, blimey.
The Magpies would be hurting after a league best finish so far, but with Andy Cole the youngest record breaker of the bunch, they could be optimistic for our final 3 seasons. Elsewhere, Benteke's Villa and Johnson's Palace had fallen off a cliff, surviving a terrible season, whilst Ivan Toney sadly couldn't repeat his survival heroics of Season 6. We'd also see Fulham's record top scorer hang up his boots, claiming their top scorer status in 4 of his 7 seasons of this decade, with a few European adventures to boot. It'd been a fantastic return for their very own Captain America.
And Dempsey will try and chip one! Wonderful!
Clint Dempsey became the first American to score 17 goals in the Prem during the 11-12 season, leading Fulham on their path to becoming an established Premier League team. Haaland would reclaim his golden boot, as Ronaldo would have to settle for second place, just like he would in the league. A penultimate day loss to Wolves had blown United's season-long run at the top, with Mo Salah making sure United would pay dearly, as the Reds would win a dramatic Premier League on goal difference.
Fucking bottle jobs. I mean, absolutely useless.
United fans wouldn't be upset for very long though. Following up an earlier Carabao Cup win, Ronaldo would shake off the pain of the league bottle job by travelling to Bucharest to score the opener in an eventual 2-1 Champions League final win over Milan. As we headed into Season 8, we would see all but Brentford in the top flight from our original teams. Stan Collymore scored a decade-best 17 goals to make it 3 years straight in the Prem for Forest. Andy Johnson was doing all he could in a now reduced role at Palace. And Paolo Di Canio even had a 19-day stint as West Ham's caretaker player-manager. Unfortunately, Chris Wood's Burnley, Mark Viduka's Leeds and a retiring Raul Jimenez's Wolves couldn't beat the drop once again. But we would see a second Golden Boot winner not named Haaland. Thierry Henry had his best season so far at the age of 33, scoring 20 league goals, and Cristiano Ronaldo had come ever so close to breaking his own personal record as Manchester United defended their Carabao Cup and once again became champions of England. But no one scored more than the villain from Belgium. Hitting 28 goals across the top flight, Christian Benteke got Villa back into Europe as well as winning the FA Cup. But even with all of that being said, there'd be no bigger winner in Season 8 than the Black Cats. Having secured a Europa League spot the year prior, Sunderland went all the way to the final to play Lazio. The game would go to penalties. And there was little doubt as Sunderland's first taker stepped up. Lazio missed theirs, and the Black Cats were European champions. A huge moment for their now captain and one of the best finishers the Prem has ever seen.
Phillips! Oh, Phillips! Kevin Phillips is back!
In the 2000-2001 season, Kevin Phillips scored 30 league goals for Sunderland, becoming the only Englishman to ever win the European Golden Shoe. So with the majority of our record breakers hitting at least their early 30s, who would have enough left in the tank to not just score goals, but to even make it into their first 11? The last 2 seasons of this decade of goals would quickly show who had relied on their main men too much and who had built the best squad around them. No more Di Canio chaos meant West Ham would spend their final season down in the abyss, along with Collymore's Forest and a now 35-year-old Tony's Brentford. Benteke won yet another Golden Boot, but could only help Villa up to a 12th place finish, while a declining Salah would be part of Liverpool's worst season yet, down in 7th. Albeit, the Reds did walk away with an FA Cup win. Across Merseyside, Lukaku led Everton to a solid mid-table finish, as well as smashing 3 in a Conference League final to earn the Toffees a sweet European crown. Kevin Phillips continued Sunderland's ascent, banging 16 at 34 years old to finish 3rd, 4 points off a United side who had finished the season trophyless. The biggest story came in North London, with Arsenal's reliance on a now 34-year-old Henry coming back to bite them, finishing all the way down in 15th.
That's what it is, a disgrace.
The last North London derby of the season had seen Kane do what he does best against the enemy, and with a great squad around him, would end the season finally lifting a Premier League title with his boyhood club. Season 9 was truly one of Spurs' own, and Kane tried his very best to ensure our 10th and final season would be a lily-white one too, as the final day would see Tottenham go 1-on-1 with Newcastle. In the end, Kane's ancient legs just couldn't keep up with Andy Cole, who scored twice in a 4-0 win to hand Newcastle our final league crown of the decade. Haaland, meanwhile, fittingly reclaimed his Golden Boot with 22 goals, but couldn't stop City's trophy rot as Bournemouth and Solanke won Trophy 2 of these 10 seasons. Utter chaos all around in this final year then, as our goalscorer extraordinaires finally hang up their boots. So the decade is over with, meaning the only thing left to do is see who won our 3 prizes of the 10 years. Starting with the relegations, the only player to drop to the Championship 4 times was Chris Wood. He did score 76 over 5 years in the Championship though, retiring as we close the decade. Next up is the goals. And in 3rd place, we have one of Spurs' very own Harry Kane, hitting 186 over 10 years with a season best 27 in the 2nd year. And our second top goal scorer is the brutish Belgium, Villa's Christian Benteke, who rifled in 189 goals, winning 2 Golden Boots across these 10 seasons. And of course, in first place is Erling Haaland, winning the Golden Boot in all but 2 of our 10 years. He smashed home 271 goals. That would actually be a brand new Premier League record. Sorry, Alan Shearer. And last but definitely not least is who won the most trophies. And for this one, we actually need a 3-way tiebreaker, as Haaland, Salah and Ronaldo all won 6 trophies apiece across the decade. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to weigh the Premier League as the best trophy, just because this is a Premier League video. So in third, with 2 Premier Leagues but just a single Europa League and 2 FA Cups, is Erling Haaland. In second, also with 2 Premier Leagues but also 2 Champions Leagues, a Europa League and an FA Cup, is Mo Salah. Meaning with 3 Premier Leagues, a Champions League, 2 Carabao Cups and a side serving of a World Cup and Euros crown, the winner is Cristiano Ronaldo. Lovely stuff. So I hope you all enjoyed it. I have left up on screen the last video that I put out where I attempt to help Luka Modric surpass Carlo Ancelotti's managerial career. Go check that one out if you're interested. If not, smash that thumbs up. Have a good one, and I shall catch you in the next one. Peace.